Welcome back to the Midlife ADHD Group Chat. My name is Maureen, and today I would love, or maybe I wouldn't love, but I think it's important, to talk about the paradox of hyperfocus. So in one of my videos recently, I did talk about hyperfocus in midlife, in menopause, and I'm 62. And I talked about all the negative parts of it, and there are definitely negative parts of it. And for those who have not watched, I was diagnosed 2.5 years ago at 59. I have what I call severe ADHD. The neuropsychologist did not call it severe, but he did say I have combined type, and I check every symptom box for both the inattentive. Sorry, I'm a little inattentive at the moment. Inattentive and the hyperactive. So you can imagine, like I was telling my husband this morning, my mind, especially if I don't get enough sleep, oh my God, it's so bad. It is like a pinball machine. I'm not kidding. Bing, 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 bing. It's all over the place. It really takes a concerted effort to stay focused. So I actually was, I've been thinking about different ideas, and I have many, many ideas. I think a lot of you can probably relate to that. And I only really touched the surface of my hyperfocus on the task paralysis video. So I really want to do a deep dive into it. But I want to stay focused, and I'm realizing I'm using my camera, and my camera shuts off after 30 minutes, which I found out filming the last video. So I'm going to really try to keep this at 30 minutes because we all have ADHD, and I know it's hard to follow more than that. But if I feel like I'm on a roll and like I'm making sense and it's, valuable information I'm sharing, then I will, if you see me clicked off, no worries, I'll come back. Anyway, okay, so now that I wasted like 3 minutes talking about it. All right, so I do have notes. So for those who are new to my channel, if I look over here, it's because on my laptop are notes or bullet points, because there is no way I will remember all of this, and I will just end up talking about something else. I'm looking out my window right now, and I could be talking about my neighbor gardening for all, that's bing, 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 All right, so the paradox of hyperfocus. I actually looked it up a few hours ago. I wanted to see what AI or Google told me. This is what so I typed up the paradox of ADHD hyperfocus. The paradox of ADHD hyperfocus is that it's not an attention deficit, but an attention dysregulation. Oh yes. Individuals struggle to focus on dull tasks, but become deeply locked into engaging ones. Oh yes. It acts as a powerful asset for creativity, productivity, and learning, but causes time blindness, neglected responsibilities, and severe burnout. Okay, that had me written all over it. When I read those 3 or 4 sentences like 2 hours ago, I said, oh my God, and I actually don't usually in the other videos kind of include what Google is telling me or whatever, but man, oh man, that just spoke right to me. Oh wow. So I am assuming that other women with ADHD can relate to what I'm going to say. And please, if you can at all while you're listening, please feel free to comment if you're comfortable doing so. Because that's kind of what I want. I don't want this all about me blabbing about my symptoms. If just listening to me, you find it helpful, then, more power to you, and you don't need to comment if you're not comfortable doing so. But if you are comfortable doing so, please do. Because I do think comments help other women. I want us all to learn from each other, not just listen to me babble about my symptoms. Okay, but these are my notes that I wrote this only about 2 hours ago. Oh God. So when I think hyperfocus, the negative stuff comes in my head, because since menopause, my ADHD has taken off. I mean, I always knew I had ADHD. I knew I was talkative, interrupted people, blah, blah, blah. And I had a very fast mind. I kind of didn't think of it as to be honest, really a super bad thing, but I had a fast mind. Oh my God. When the hormones, when the estrogen started dropping and perimenopause and then menopause. Oh, mama. Okay, so it got really bad. Really bad. I joke that I'm glad I don't work in an office like I used to. I tell my therapist this. I'm not kidding. I don't think I could. I really don't think I could handle it. I work as a companion to an elderly lady, and fortunately, she pretty much likes my personality. And I'm very honest with her, and I'll just even say to her, "Oh, sweetie, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to go cook dinner or something." And she doesn't disagree. But I've been with her many, 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 many moons, and I'm very lucky. Like, she gets it. Because, yeah, I don't know how I could ever really focus right now in the jobs I used to do when I was younger. So it's definitely gotten worse for me, my symptoms. All right, so now back to hyperfocus. So I touched upon this in a few videos ago. Hyperfocus for me was tending to think negatively. I was tending to think like, oh my God, because it's so fresh in my mind, because the past 6 months, I can tell you about 3 or 4 different hyperfocuses I've done that, it involves a lot of my time, spending money, not neglecting, truly, like it said, neglecting, I'm neglecting what I should be doing. I mean, that is the honest truth. What I say to myself was, oh, how important it is to clean the kitchen before I run to work. I can just do it tonight. And then I do it. We all have our chores. I live with an adult daughter and my husband. And the 3 of us just divvy up everything. So the kitchen's my main obligation. So, well, I do a few other things, but the kitchen on a daily basis. And, yeah. So, I can bargain, and to be honest with you, at this point in my life, I'm lucky, I kind of can just get by, you know what I'm saying? But I want to be more organized. I don't want to spend 6 hours on a photo shoot because I just learned a technique. And I'm not exaggerating about this. I have done several photo shoots. I'm a hobbyist photographer, have been for I think near 20 years at this point. I learned, I got into vintage lenses in September or October. 6 months ago or whatever. Oh, loved them. Oh, jumped right in. Oh, no, now this is my hyperfocus. So now I already talked about this before in another video about task paralysis. I spend I'll spend 2 weeks looking for this particular lens, and I want the bargain. I'm getting a dopamine rush because it's so competitive for me. I'm on eBay and I get the best deal, and oh, I'm a great shopper, and oh my God, I love that stuff. All right, but I can't collect 3 or 4 lenses like, let's be honest, a normal person. And I kind of say this laughing because, what is normal? You know what I mean? I roll my eyes whenever anyone says normal, including myself, because what the hell's normal? But anyway, maybe a more rational person, maybe I should say that. Anyway, so I'm really too embarrassed to tell you how many lenses I have. Maybe down the road I'll tell you, but I have a lot of lenses. Let's just leave it at that. I way overbought lenses. Way overbought them. Now, did I use them? Have I used every one? No. I probably have used, I'm going to guess, I'm sorry, that's my Chihuahua Yorkie named Tasha barking at, a leaf falling off the tree outside. Who the hell knows? Anyway, I probably have used 50% of them. That's how many I bought, and I've been using them a lot. Okay, so I get way into vintage lenses. Then the next one, that flows is, as I'm studying vintage lenses, is macro photography. I get way into that. I buy a whole bunch of different gear for that. Meanwhile, I have tons of photography gear that I've accumulated. Us photographers call it GAS, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. Oh yeah, I've got it. Big surprise. Then I end up buying, now I need the macro photography, and I need this for that and this for that. So one of the first macro photography shoots I did, and this is, macro photography, it's pretty complicated. I used to do more portrait, conceptual photography, with pretty gowns and that kind of thing. And so macro photography is a whole different animal. So I spent a long time learning that. I always double check. I get so nervous that I'm not recording. I am recording. Don't mind me. My phone acts as a remote control for my camera. And so I'm just making sure that I'm recording. Either that or I'm just babbling to myself. But anyway. Crazy. I think it was my first photography shoot, but this has happened more than one time. I sat in my living room. Now, I do set up a nice area. this is in the winter. I have a fire going. I've got 4 rescue animals, my 3 dogs and my kitty cat. Kitty cat kind of wanders, sometimes she'll come and stay. My golden retriever mix, my sweetheart girl, she comes and goes. But the 2 little dogs stay with me right on the couch, and I'm not kidding, they'll stay. And they love to be with me. Primrose in particular, who you might have met already in some of my videos. She in particular will stay with me the whole time, right next to me. The first time I did it, 6 hours. 6 hours. This is crazy. When I tell you my shoulders, neck, I'm bent over. So I have like a little table on my coffee table with, it's very minute, as you can imagine, it's macro photography. You're very close. I could barely move. The next day I could barely move. My back hurt, my shoulders hurt, my arms. Had not drank one thing. Had not eaten one thing. Went to the bathroom once. Only because I had to let the dogs out to pee. So I said, well, I probably should pee, and I hope they pee quick so I can get back to my hyperfocus. It's like really uncomfortable for me not to continue. It sounds ridiculous, and if I didn't have ADHD, I would say, oh my God, what's the matter with that lady? It's true. It's uncomfortable. It's like boredom for me. Uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. 6 hours. I kind of am not thinking that's a problem because, to be honest, like, who am I hurting, right? I mean, in some ways, I'm not hurting anyone, right? I'm not hurting anyone. I could be doing worse things with my money, whatever. This makes me happy. I've worked hard my whole life. The rationalizations. And part of that's true. I mean, it is true. If this is something I really enjoy, what's the big deal? Well, this is the problem. It's not good for my body. I'm 62. I've got arthritis. This isn't I have 2 herniated discs in my neck. They're fine. I was diagnosed 25 years ago, but, they act up when you sit in the same position for 6 hours. It's just crazy, crazy. And the reality is I could be doing like it said, I could be more productive. I wouldn't be, the time blindness, neglecting my responsibilities. And then severe burnout. And that's what happens to me. But I have to be honest, when I start to feel the burnout, guess what I do? I don't think about it. I just do it. I jump on to the next hobby. So this is what happened to me. This lasted 4 or 5 months, though, which can be pretty long for a hobby for me. Sometimes it's less. So again, I'm on the negative part of hyperfocus right now. I do have a lot of positives that this is very interesting, and it does just go to show attitude, I think. I've been doing a deep dive into ADHD, and my particular ADHD, which is, again, I have every symptom, for about 2.5 years. And I feel like, I pretty much know myself, know my symptoms. Oh, golly. Because I used to think I understood ADHD. Oh, I know I have ADHD. Talk. I knew about 10% about ADHD. I'm embarrassed to say this being a, former background in psychology. But I knew maybe 10% of really what ADHD is. Now, this 2.5 years deep dive, I'm feeling like, if I had to put a percentage around it, I know about 80 to 90%. I get it. Oh, no. The past 12 days, 2 weeks of researching topics and my symptoms and what I could speak about, because I do like to speak off the cuff, be authentic. This is my life. This is what I live every day. Oh my God, the more I'm researching, the more I'm learning about me. And it's interesting because today when I was kind of really getting into focus, what's going on? Like, I have to get some kind of bullet points or something, because even with the bullet points, I could be all over the place. But oh my God, if I don't have anything, like I said, I'll be talking about my neighbor out there gardening. It dawned on me, wait a minute. This hyperfocus has worked for me. And more in the past, I will tell you that. I would say more in the past. And I'm going to talk about that because that's important. I have said this before. There is a balance, I feel, in everything in life. There is a balance. Honestly, some things suck more than others, of course. I'm not going to say, ooh, wow, we should all be Pollyannas and have that, what the kids call the toxic positivity. No, I'm not saying that. Some things really, really suck. It's really hard to find a silver lining. But something like ADHD, at least for me, and again, I am only speaking for myself, and I'm hoping some of what I say resonates with other people, but I would love to hear anything you refute, anything you say, oh yeah, that's great for you, Maureen, but that has not been my experience. I would love for you to comment and say that. This is how we help each other. This is how we learn. I'm not saying I'm doing ADHD the right way. Not at all, believe me. But all I can do is talk about my own experiences, and I'm learning. I go to therapy every single week, and she has additional training in ADHD, so I'm super lucky. I'm really lucky that I have this amazing therapist that is so helpful. But anyway, so I was happy because for me it's very obvious, and I'm not ashamed of my hyperfocus. I'm really not, because it's not about my character. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have great character. I'm not worried about my character. But I'm a little apologetic, like I am, and that's the way I should be, because you know what? I leave messes all over the place. I've already talked about that in my clutter video. Good God. My clutter is mostly from my hobbies, for the love of Pete. And I talked about the kitchen table, like what, a month, 5 weeks to clean off a kitchen table, the vintage lenses? Crazy. Embarrassed to say, also I got into light pad photography. So on top of the macro photography with the vintage lenses, then I graduated. Somehow I saw, oh, light pad. Let me look that up. I've never heard of light pad photography. Oh, I want one. Oh, quick. Let me get one on Amazon. I have to find the best price, but I only spend like 15 minutes. Bing, 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 bing. Well, I want the biggest one, right? Because, I want the best, right? Spend $92 on that. Bing, bing. I mean, I will say I've used it, but I've used it intensely. This is what I do. I buy something and I use it intensely. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 2 months. And then I'm not exaggerating. I wake up one day and I'm not interested. I just don't even think about it. It's not even like I made a decision like, I'm getting kind of tired of doing macro photography. I guess I'll stop. It's like I just don't do it anymore. I find another focus. And this is exactly what happened. So I went from vintage lenses in the fall to macro photography in the winter to light pad photography, for a few months, March and April. Paid for a photography club, everybody, because guess what? From light pad photography, I got into floral photography. I love gardening, and I thought, wow, this will be fun. Paid for a photography club. Joined the photography club. Made 1 million posts on the private Facebook page for the first 4 to 6 weeks. Super into it. Oh, I paid for a membership to a horticultural park near me, a few towns over. Well, 2 things. I want to be able to go and take pictures of their beautiful flowers, which I did twice. And also I'd like to support them. So I bought a membership. Been there twice. Bought the membership 5-6 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I decided to do this. Who knows what even popped in my head? I can't even remember why this popped in my head. All of a sudden, no more floral photography. I mean, it is out of my mind. Now I'm into this. Now I'm going to just grow a YouTube channel. I got to learn how to do it. I'm into the tech part of it. I can't just use my phone. I have to use my, mirrorless camera with my expensive lenses. So now this is my newest hyperfocus. And this is the thing I'm working on in therapy and with myself. To not make this a hyperfocus the last 2 months. And to be honest with you, I don't think it will. I have a heightened sense of responsibility. I don't know if that's an ADHD thing, but I do. And so I would not start a channel and just dump it. I just wouldn't. But even more than just a responsibility part of it, like don't start something and not finish it, if it's something serious. I'm too interested. Like, this is me, right? I mean, this isn't a hobby. I'm talking about me and my symptoms. I want to learn from you guys out there. I want to learn what works for you. I want to grouse with you. I want to vent with you. It's too much back and forth. It's it's me. It's not something I'm going to grow bored with. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think my brain's pretty interesting. So I don't think I'm going to get bored with it. Anyway, so that's one hyperfocus. That's just a recent one. Oh my God, I have so many. Garden art. decided, 2-3 years ago, I'm going to do garden art. Don't ask. I'm on YouTube. I see, a video. That looks interesting. Let me try that. Oh, and at the time I was way into thrifting. Like I was addicted to it. I stopped over a year ago. I just really white knuckled it. It didn't take too long, but I just said, no, you're absolutely not going thrifting. And I white knuckled it, and I had been thinking about stopping for a long time, but I really white knuckled it and stopped, and now I have no interest in doing it. But anyway, garden art. Oh, I love thrifting. I'll go to Savers. I'm going to find all these, cheap vases, and then you glue them together. Let me buy all the arts and crafts product for that, because that's my newest hobby. So that was a summer 3 years ago, I think. Oh my God. So I buy all of these vases at Savers over many trips, maybe 5 or 6 trips. And I am having fun. I am on the hunt. Number one, the hunt. I'm getting the dopamine because I found an orange vase. Oh my God, I wanted an orange vase, but one of my favorite colors is orange. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Okay, so then I found a red. Well, the orange and red, would that go together? No, maybe not. Okay, so let me try this. And then I would snap pictures of somebody I'm following on YouTube and her design so I could kind of try to find something that would match, shape-wise, vase-wise, whatever. And I make all this garden art. Well, I made some cute things. I actually was watering my plants, and they're still there 3 years later. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I probably have 1, 2, 3. I made some mushrooms, glass mushrooms, whatever. I have 5 things. That did not last long. I got to tell you. You know what lasted long? The hunt. So that I spent about maybe a month looking, go twice a week, run after work. I have an hour. The adrenaline's pumping. What can I find in an hour? I only have an hour. You know the drill. Anyway, then I made my 5, 6 things. One I broke. So maybe I made 6 things. One I broke by mistake. I have, I think, 5 left. 4 or 5 left. That's it. Then it stopped. You know what it reminds me of? Just as I'm saying this right now, I never thought of it before. You know how you hear about the guy that wants the girl and he's chasing her? You know how they used to talk about it. And then once he gets her, he doesn't want her anymore? Yeah, I just made that connection. Yeah, it's kind of like that. All right? So anyway, that's one of many examples. See, I don't even have to read my notes because I can go on and on this hyperfocus stuff. Let's see, what else am I missing? There's been so many. I wrote, for me, it can be perseverating about a task. Oh, yeah. Usually the newest hobby of mine, completely lost in it to the detriment of the rest of my life. It's true. And it can be absolutely exhausting. For sure. I'm sure there's a million other ones that, examples that, it doesn't look like I wrote down. I did, sorry. Oh, gardening. It's just, I bring everything to the extreme. I started gardening 20 years ago. 20 years ago, actually. Right around now, actually. I could not do anything, and I want to stop saying normal, because you know what? That's not what I mean. But I couldn't do anything in a measured way. Now, back 20 years ago, the internet wasn't what it is now. So it's not like I had a million forums to go on. I went to the library, got out gardening books. I bought a few gardening books. I got so into it. Got a bunch of plants from my sister-in-law. She's an avid gardener. I got so into it. I was planning, and I don't have a huge property, but you can, big, like quarter acre or something, backyard. And so, but I found plenty of room to make a million gardens. And I got so into it. I mean, at least it lasted. I did this for 8 or 9 years of full force. And then, yeah, exactly right. Then 8 years into gardening. Now I got into dog rescue. And again, this isn't necessarily bad. Obviously, I literally still have plants from 20 years ago. So that's great, right? It's the over. It's all or nothing. It's, I used to be proud of this. I thought this was a good thing. I do the overnight and I come home and I'd spend 8 or 9 hours down on my hands and knees gardening. And I thought, of course I was 20 years younger, but I was like, that is good and fine and everything else and good for me. And look at my garden and wow. And what I attributed that? I would say I'm such a hard worker, And that's not wrong. And this is, like so many things in life. There's a balance, there's good and bad, there's pros and cons. So it wasn't wrong because I am a hard worker. I mean, there's nothing lazy about me. I've never felt lazy. But it's to the extreme, and I have an addiction history. And, we definitely, I'm going to have a few shows about addiction, recovery, and addiction because, I never knew that there's quite a correlation with addiction and ADHD. Did not know it at the time that I started recovery 22 years ago. But anyway, so it's not this bad. Dog rescue. I adopted our Daphne 14 years ago. And then I do photography, volunteer at the rescue, do photography. Then I fell into fostering. I was the second oldest in this rescue. The second oldest. Many, many volunteers. I think they had 100, something like that. Big rescue. I fostered the most dogs, and I was so proud of that. I fostered not just me, my husband, and my teenage daughter. She was a teenager at the time. But I did most of the work. I did all the adoption events, all the home visits. I would do tons of photography of the dogs to promote them, like on the rescue Facebook page. I would drive up to another state in blizzards. Oh yeah, I did that numerous times to get a dog out of quarantine so the dog wouldn't have to stay another night. Now, what I am saying, I am not saying this to be like, pat myself on the back, I'm wonderful. I am super proud of all this work, of course. But I took it to the extreme. Now, while I'm doing it, I don't feel like it's the extreme. I feel like it's great. Like, wow, look at me. I get a lot of self-esteem out of this. It's an ego thing. Well, geez, God, I'm the second oldest. In my head, it's not like I thought this all the time, but I would think like, I'm the second oldest of the whole rescue, and here I'm fostering the most dogs. Meanwhile, my family's like, hey, Mom, why are we fostering yet another dog that you didn't even ask us about? Because I used to ask the both of them. Up until maybe by the fourth or fifth dog, I was like, oh. Meanwhile, we accumulated 4 of our own dogs, that we adopted from the rescue over a 1.5 year period. So anyway, and that's not fair to your family. That's, I joke about it and think it's funny. It's not funny, though. You don't just, the big joke was I used to ask my husband, I always call him slow to warm up because I'm so freaking hyper. Everybody slow to warm up compared to me. So I used to, the big joke was he'd come home from work and there'd be an extra dog along with our 4 adopted dogs, our residents as we call them. And I will say he loves dogs. So he would basically be slightly annoyed for 30 seconds and then be kind of like, come here, buddy, tell me your story. I love you. So he was great and everything. My teenager would complain because, of course, when I'm at work, she'd have to take care of all the dogs. She was 14 at the time when I started it. So yes, is it great that we saved over 100 dogs? Am I proud of that? Absolutely. That is an amazing, amazing thing. But there's the balance. It is an amazing thing. And all those families that got these wonderful dogs and all these wonderful dogs that went to all these amazing families. And believe me, I was particular, about who they went to and home visits and all that because I wanted to make sure it was a good fit and that everybody was happy. So it was a lot of work. It was, I guess you're all probably figuring out, a bit obsessive. Like everything I'm telling you is obsessive. It's just too much. It's fine, some of it, but then I go to the extreme. Now, this is supposed to be the positive part, so I guess that didn't sound too positive, but it is. I'm just going to have a sip of water with my whistle. So, what else? All right, so hyperfocus. So it's sounding kind of negative. But as I was writing today out the examples of what I wanted to talk about, and again, quite a few, especially in menopause. And again, I'm thinking all this negative hobby, my hyperfocus is now our hobbies. And like I told you about the vintage lenses and the macro photography, they can last like 5 months, 4 months, 6 months, 2 weeks, whatever. And, but as I was writing it out, I realized, what? There's good that came out of it. So there's good that came out of the dog rescue, right? yes, I had an annoyed family members, and I put a lot of responsibility on my teenager when I wasn't home, working or whatever, and she had extra dogs. So basically what I'm finding out is my mirrorless camera with my lens, probably because the files are so big, it only will film for 30 minutes at a time, and that went by quickly. So I'll have to do a little editing. But I'm back. So basically, I really would like to focus the next bit on positivity, because there are positive parts of ADHD. And I've said this before. I don't know if I would not want to have ADHD. In other words, because there are parts of my brain I really like. I like that it's fast. I like that I'm enthusiastic. I like that I have high energy. I like that I free associate and I can think quickly. I like all of that. And then there's stuff I don't like. Anyway, the great part, I think I mentioned this earlier, but my researching and my writing bullet points and preparing for these videos, and this is my 5th video in the past 2 weeks, has helped me learn so much about myself. I have to be honest. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm really learning. So I'm actually helping myself making this channel. So yay for me. I'm hoping I can help other people, and you guys help me, and we help each other. So positivity. As I was writing this, I was thinking back to, wow, it kind of just fell in my head. Real quick, it's one of my niece's birthday today, and I am in the family historian. My brother called me that years ago. Both my parents have been gone for over 20 years. And my father's side in particular we're very close to, and he has a very, very big Irish family. And I have always been interested in photography, and like I said, I've done it for a hobby for close to 20 years. I decided that I would take all the photos and scan them. So I did this probably 3-month project back in, I think it was 2008. I went to my aunt's, I got their photo albums, I carefully took all the pictures out, I scanned them, I made them digital, gave back the albums to them. I went through my mom's albums, did all the same thing. I went through our VHS tapes, I bought a DVD recorder, and I switched over, from VHS to digital. And then I made this 1.5 hour long video with 1,000 images. I mean, it's really cool. But this whole thing took 3, 4, 5 months. And somebody would say, wow, that's kind of obsessive. Wow, 1,000? Did you really need to do 1,000 images? I have a lot of cousins and their kids and everything else. And then I'm kind of an even Steven, justice-oriented type of girl. So I was like, oh, God, I can't include a picture of my cousin's child without my other cousin's child. You know the drill. Anyway, and a lot of footage. I had pictures of my grandparents from the 1920s. I had video footage from 1970 when we, meaning my mom, dad, and me and my sibs, went to Ireland, because that's where my dad's from. And so it was awesome. I had all this video footage, but you can imagine all the time it took. And I'm teaching myself. I don't know how to do this stuff. I'm learning as I go. So anyway, that's a good example, though. Do you know that we have all these pictures now? My family. So I gave everybody the video. I gave all the cousins and the aunts and uncles a DVD of the digital images. So obviously I gave them back their photo albums, but a DVD of the digital images. And this is before Facebook, or before I was on Facebook. This was 2008. Anyway, and then, so I've done those kind of things. The next year I made videos, life story videos. I actually volunteered for hospice and did a few life story videos of patients. Very, very hard work on my part as far as, very emotional, but really super important work. That, I had the equipment, and my thought was I should help them, and do the best I can, and, try to make something worthwhile that they can give to their loved ones after they're gone. So, that's important. But somebody would say, wow, you spent 4 or 5 months? That's a lot. 1,000 pictures, all that video. But it is a lot. I did life story videos of each of my niece and nephew the following year, 2009. And I have, 7 of them that I did. And yeah, it was a lot of work. So, it is a lot of work. Hyperfocus isn't great. I just, a lot of things about my ADHD I like. And I don't know, if anyone can relate to this, please, drop a line. If you know of someone that's in, a middle-aged woman, in perimenopause, menopause, and you feel like, wow, she could get something out of this, please share this channel with her, because I really want us to learn from each other. And I think we can. And the reason why I started this channel is I got the idea. I did a quick YouTube search because I love YouTube. I am on YouTube every single day. I learn so much from YouTube. I love, love, love it. It's like a college class. Any college class I want to take, it's right there. I love it. But I couldn't not find anything chatting, like anything midlife, women in, their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, talking about ADHD, talking about how it affects them. How I feel like my brain's like, bam, since menopause. How is, the lack of estrogen affected our ADHD symptoms? I could not find any chats about that for women our age. I found tons of education. I mean, I've been looking for 2.5 years. I've read tons, watched tons of videos, and there is education and research out there, luckily. Happy for that, but I really want this to be a let's help each other kind of channel, not just me talk about all my symptoms. But anyway, so I can babble on. Oh my loving God, I can babble. So I gotta close up here. So I did want to say though, because I want to talk about positivity. Well, I already talked about dog rescue, talked about family historian. I have 2 more examples and I'm going to be quick about it. My daughter, and I'm going to be careful because you know what? I have always believed this, and not just because I'm a former therapist, from years and years ago, but also, I'm a member of AA. I am very careful about privacy and confidentiality. And so it's not I always say this, not my story to tell. If we're talking about someone else, it's not my story to tell. I can only tell my story. So I'm not going to get into details, but I will just say that my daughter at 3 was diagnosed with a diagnosis about sensory issues that I had never heard of. And it wasn't in the DSM, the psychiatric manual back then. And there was hardly anything out on, and this was, 23 years ago, 22 years ago. So there was hardly anything. Well, I found one forum on the internet. I joined that. Then I don't really know how I found this one, but I somehow found a few towns over a meeting for people with kids that had sensory issues. And again, because I knew nothing and I felt so dumb, like, oh my God, I work with kids. Well, how have I never heard of this? And then I'm like, well, I guess I didn't feel that dumb because there's nothing out there about this. So anyway, I dived in. Now, anyone that's a mom will understand this. We're mama bears. Our kid needs us. We're going to do anything for our kids. So anyway, this is an example of where my ADHD was good, healthy, and helpful. And I dove in. I found, immediately got her on IEP in preschool. I got her on, an OT, speech articulation issues, speech therapist, all that. An OT, and then I found a private OT. And I wasn't really close by. It was like an hour away or something. It was worth it. So I go to her. She's amazing. I basically said, I know that an hour a week isn't enough. So you got to teach me, because don't forget, there were not like a million books. One book that I could find that I bought, The Art of Sync Child. It turned out there were other books, but that's the only one I saw at Barnes & Nobles. I bought it. I stayed up all night reading it. Typical ADHD. Highlighted it. It explained my kid. I cried, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I cried for 10 minutes. I'm going to get teary-eyed. I cried sorrow for her, sorrow for me, but also relief. Oh, okay, now all of this kind of strange behavior makes sense now. Why can't she do birthday parties? Things that are fun. She heard a fire engine once at the beach. She wouldn't go back to the beach. The only area she was hypersensitive in was auditory. Everything else was under-responsive. It just explains so much. I learned so much. The OT said, listen, I am willing to do, and I'm working full-time, but I'm doing overnight shifts. And back then, I had the energy to work overnight and then stay up all day and do things. Anyway, so I built with the help of my husband and my oldest brother, we built a gym in one of the small spare rooms, and I just studied everything and dove right in, and I used to do 2 45-minute sessions a day with her for about 6 months. And she still ended up going to OT for years after, maybe till 8 years old. But that changed everything. This kid totally, within 1 month, this kid totally changed. Never mind 6 months. And, her preschool teacher said to me, you know what? If she didn't have you as a mom, and this is emotional for me, she'd quit school in 8th grade. That just, as a mom, you'd understand that breaks your heart. She said, because she's got an invisible diagnosis, and people don't understand that. And she'd be labeled dumb because it would affect how she learns. And then she would end up, having low self-esteem and quitting. And that always stuck with me. And I was obsessive about learning about every single thing I could about that. We actually are, I don't know, somehow I contacted somebody or somebody contacted me. I don't even know, but somehow we're in a book about SPD. Our examples in us and what worked for my daughter and what didn't. Isn't that funny? I know it ended up being, because it was such a new field. They were looking for families that had experience in this. So I want to end this on saying there are positive and negative parts. I really feel, honestly, and I probably have learned this, my psych background, being a member of AA, like we all do. We learn, we've got layers of learning, right? The older we get, the wiser we get, we hope. But, there is good and bad in every single thing. Just like I started, I'm going to say the same thing at the end. There's good and bad. And there is, I wasn't actually thinking a lot of good things even the other day about Hyperfocus, to be honest. I was like, oh my God, all it does for me is I spend money, hyper-focus on my hobbies, then create more clutter to clean. Jesus. Well, that's all true. But today I was happy to kind of remember, well, no, there are good things that come out of that, and that's one of them. That's obviously a very important thing. And maybe if I didn't have ADHD, I wouldn't have done all of that research and have all of that drive, motivation, and energy to build the gym, to do 2 45-minute sessions, to, have the meetings, read all the books, join the clubs, join the forums and go to the in-person meetings. So, maybe if I didn't have ADHD, I wouldn't have been able to do that for my daughter. And, maybe she wouldn't be doing as well as she's doing. So, good and bad. All right, I really hope if you are comfortable and any of this resonated at all with you, please give a comment if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, please, and you just want to listen or, fold your laundry while you listen to me babble or drive in your car when you're listening. I do that all the time when I'm listening on YouTube. Plus, I think it helps when we're busy with ADHD to kind of calm our nervous system if we're moving and doing things. But, if you're not comfortable or you can't comment, that's fine. But if you are comfortable and you resonate with this, please comment. All right, everybody, until next time.